Welcome to the Battery Testing Mentor podcast. My name is Johannes and here I talk about all topics around battery testing, battery validation and battery safety. Short, on the point and with practical advice. Also visit www.batterytestingmentor.com and sign up for the email update where I send out the summaries of the episodes. Yes, and today we will go straight into another interview. This is a very special interview because I was recently in Berlin and visited there kind of live and myself without internet a battery startup. I visited theion, a startup that is working on lithium sulfur chemistry, new battery development. And basically when I was kind of young starting in the battery industry, lithium sulfur was already kind of mentioned as this one thing that one day will come up and will have a huge impact. So I was especially curious to visit them and stop by at their office and lab in Berlin. And today I am very happy to share with you my interview with Dr. Ulrich Ehmes, the CEO of the company. Next week or in 2 weeks, we will have another interview, then more focused about the testing aspect. But today, let's dive into the topic of lithium sulfur battery and the approach by theion. So, thank you very much for coming here, Ulrich. It's a pleasure to meet you, especially here in these premises here in your company and the lab. Super fascinating.
Yeah, thank you very much, Johannes, having you here. And we would like to explain a bit more about our technology.
Yeah, so maybe before we start really going into theion, do you want to give a short introduction about yourself and how did you end up being here the CEO of the company? Really?
I'm not an electrochemist. I'm an electrical engineer by professional education, studied in Darmstadt and Lausanne. And my first 14 years of industrial life I spent with Leica camera, running the main production site in Portugal. So I'm a production guy. Yeah. So when I manage something in a technical way, I always look to how is it possible to produce. And in 2010, I moved to Le Plancher, to Switzerland, because they were looking for a COO to build their first lithium-ion plant in Willstadt. And I started with that, and 6 months later I became CEO, and I had 2 projects: to build a factory in Germany and to find the money to pay the factory. So we made it in 3 consecutive capital increases and built a factory. We found the first customers. Then my job was done in 2014, and I started my own business as a consultant. So the first project was a big project with Manz Automation. It was a project from Apple to redesign and develop a complete new cell assembly production technology. Took over 2 years with 200 engineers. And then I had a couple of other projects. The last one was Morrow Batteries. When a headhunter called me and said, there is a very interesting company in Berlin, lithium sulfur startup. Are you interested? And I said, yes, I will do my due diligence. So I met the co-founder Marek at that time, 2.5 years ago, and also the main investor, Łukasz Gadowski, and I recognized immediately perfect technology and visionary investor, perfect fit. And I think I can add value to this company. So I came to Berlin.
And now you're here in, you said 1,800 square meter empire, basically, to develop a new type of cell, basically, or cell chemistry.
Exactly. And this development started already 10 years ago.
Okay.
Marek started to develop lithium sulfur battery technology in Norway, where he developed his first generation. Then he went to Switzerland, second generation, and after 8 years said, I have a concept. Let's found a company. That was the time when Marek met Łukasz Gadowski and they started theion.
And that was how many years ago?
This was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah. So since 4 years, basically, you're kind of in the midst of developing here the company.
The company exists since 4 years and I'm on board since 2 years.
So now the saying in short, what you're developing is a lithium sulfur or sulfur lithium battery. Like when I think back my time 10 years ago or so when I started, there was always this talk about, okay, one day we will have lithium sulfur and then, we will have much better energy density and so on. Now, this was more than 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And basically, now you are kind of at the brink of really industrializing it and scaling it up, right? What breakthroughs basically did you develop there, or what brought you to this point now that that you have this lithium sulfur battery now running? More?
It's a very good question, but let me start a bit earlier. I think the big developments we cannot do through production technology. The big breakthroughs in battery comes through material. Yeah. And as 70% of the cost is material cost, and half of that is the cathode material, we need to start first with the cathode. And that was Marek's approach. He said, what is the best cathode material to bring battery technology to the next level? Not to evolutionary develop, but to disrupt. Yeah. And he came immediately to sulfur. And that was a reason to start. And when we look to sulfur from its specific energy, this is 5 times more than NMC 811. Yeah. And this justifies from a specific energy point of view to have a deeper look to it. The second advantage, it is a waste product. So it is available abundantly everywhere. You do not need to mine nickel, manganese, cobalt, wherever in the world, ship it to China, produce cathode material with 2 times calcination very expensively, and then ship it back to the world, to the gigafactories, and produce battery cells. So from a geopolitical, democratic distribution point of view, sulfur is fantastic. As it is waste, it's very cheap. 20 cents per kg compared to 20 euro per kg. It's a very, very big difference, specifically if it's half of the material cost. And last but not least, it has a very low CO2 footprint. And this is reason enough to pay attention to this material. Now, this is so fantastic. Why the hell nobody else is doing that? No, it's not nobody else. There are 29 startups currently in the world dealing with lithium-sulfur battery technology. No one is in mass production, everyone is in R&D. Everyone has a bit of different approach because there are 2 big problems with sulfur. It's the polar sulfide shuttling and the volumetric expansion during charging and discharging. And Marek has 2 fantastic concepts to solve these problems. And probably the most interesting one is, and this is a difference compared to the other startups, we are using sulfur in its monoclinic gamma phase, in a crystalline structure. This is like carbon. Carbon can be, depending on the allotropy, a very soft pencil or a very hard diamond. Exactly the same with sulfur. Monoclinic gamma allows us to reach over 4,000 sites, confirmed by Drexel University in the US. They have a bit of different synthesizing process. We believe our process is better scalable. And this is again our approach. We want to become a mass producer of lithium sulfur cells. So that is the approach Marek had. We can now deep dive a bit more into how we solve that, but we have proven in CoinCell that is possible.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also this sodium-ion battery where basically the same claims are made, that kind of lower CO2 footprint, it's abundant and so on, but sodium-ion is kind of replacing the lithium, and you're basically going the other approach, right? Like keeping the lithium inside and then replacing on the cathode materials with the sulfur, right?
I only told you half of the story, because as I told, the approaches start with the most expensive part of the cell, and which is a limiting factor, it's the cathode. Sulfur, perfect, the 2 problems solved, good. Now, what is the best anode for which application? For lightweight batteries, lithium metal foil is fantastic. For stationary application, we don't care weight. Let's use sodium. And we recently finished a project mandated by Sprint to investigate sodium-sulfur battery technology. And we made great progress and came to a level which makes sense to continue so that we have a solution for stationary storage, sodium-sulfur, and for mobility, lithium, metal, sulfur.
Okay, so basically you're not only developing one battery, but several branches, basically based on this. I mean, this is now an even bigger task than I expected you are having. It feels to me to have like these different branches and make them in the end scalable and that in a way that you can really produce it, right?
Yeah.
So now we basically circled around this topic of lithium sulfur. Do you know like why kind of this lithium sulfur is only now in this kind of startup phase and hasn't been developed already 20 years ago? Because when talking to you, it makes pretty much sense, and you say, okay, it's kind of obvious to have the sulfur inside. Is it really these kind of material challenges that you have with the sulfur shuttling, for example, that hasn't been solved so far?
Yeah, I think this is one reason that in the last 10 years, a couple of teams around the world started to go into the segment. But the motivation probably not to do it was that the battery manufacturers, they have their existing production lines with the traditional processes for mixing, coating, calendering, and so on, and until formation. And they would like to have drop-in material solution where they can put the powders in the first step and then see the improvements in the cell. If you really want to disrupt, you need to replace some of the processes. That is exactly what we are doing. So in our case, we take out mixing, coating, drying, calendering, and install our technology, because this is a way to leverage the full performance of the sulfur crystal. All the other processes are exactly the same. And I think this was, for the time being, the obstacle not to do it, because battery manufacturers want to use the equipment. Now, with the geopolitical stress on the supply chain side, it's necessary to look left and right, which other options we have to produce batteries without going through China and having a much better CO2 footprint, because this is very, very important, and going up to 3 times the energy density. So from a target perspective, and that is our target, 1,000 watt-hours per kg at 1,000 cycles is possible. This is not. These are just the laws of physics applied, but obviously by overcoming the 2 issues of sulfur. But I must say one thing: when we built our first monolayer pouch cells last year, we started cycling, and then we noticed it's not our cathode the limiting element, but the anode. So the lithium metal foil, we experienced dendrites. It's a typical problem of all solid-state battery companies. So we had to reinvent the lithium metal anode, and our team invented a lithium metal host anode. This is a special textile structure coated in several steps, conductively and lithophilically, and we started to strip and plate and to build symmetrical cells, and we saw this is a fantastic anode for even cycle with 14C without any dendrites. So internally we tested it already. We reached over 2,000 cycles at 1C, and tested with 70 milliampere per centimeter square current density and had no dendrites. So this anode which we here developed fits perfectly to our high-performance cathode, because it needs to be as powerful as a cathode. But even more importantly, this anode can be used in the state-of-the-art battery technology. So you can combine, you can get from us the host anode and combine it with the NMC 811 cathode and increase the gravimetric energy density with your state-of-the-art technology.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it sounds almost like the perfect battery. Is it really like at the moment just the industrialization that is holding you off from selling the battery in large quantities? Because basically if you say, okay, you get these high energy densities, you can have really high charge and discharge rates, it sounds like really a good fit for especially these high power applications.
Yeah, obviously battery cell development takes time. Yeah, we are at coin cell and monolayer pouch cell level, small sizes. And to go until larger size, it will take some more time. But we can show that it works right now in the smaller cells is already a proof of concept which underlines that this roadmap is the right track to go. Yeah? And our team, specifically our CTO, as he has a lot of automation experience, he's the ideal person to industrialize then the technology. Obviously, we will do that with partners because for this first step, the electrode production of the cathode, we need external partners to introduce our processes. We call that a crystal grow. It sounds a bit like semiconductor. It is not. Semiconductor would be far too expensive. The process which we are using are existing in the market. We just combine it in a different way. And we need to adjust it to the material.
Okay, I mean, basically there's still some way forward to you, or for you, right? Maybe one other question that I also had, like, because you are sitting here in Berlin, and Berlin is not necessarily such a tech or like industry center. I mean, it's a tech hub for a lot of startups, but kind of, is it a good place to develop batteries here?
Yeah, at the end, it's all about people. And to have an attractive environment for people. So we are a small team of 18 colleagues. And when we select our colleagues, we pay attention that we can get the best experts in each field. We have 8 nationalities. So expert in its field from a technical point of view, but also with a mindset to fit into a startup. And we could attract excellent colleagues to Berlin, and therefore it's a very good environment. And specifically Adlershof with the neighborhood to the Humboldt University. And beyond Berlin, we have a worldwide network to industry partners.
Okay, and maybe now, like coming slowly to an end, what can we expect now from you, from theion, in the next months, years?
We want to finalize the development of our lithium metal host anode until the end of the year, and having also a first small pouch cell ready for our lithium sulfur cell. We will first test it. The host anode is currently tested by an external institute because we want to have a proof, a validation from an external partner that what we are promising is real. We read a lot in the newspapers about what is happening, what is possible. We want to have a proof from this external partner. So towards the end of the year, we want to have the next development step towards a ready cell. But production, we will start 26, 27.
Okay, very good. I mean, I keep my fingers crossed for you. I mean, especially looking at this year, it's really fascinating to see that you have the feeling here's really this energy of some new growing out of basically just out of minds, out of knowledge.
Thank you very much. And we invite all experts and enthusiasts to work with us to bring technology to the next level. Come to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else you want to share or get out there?
I think what is important is let's be brave. Let's look left and right how we can innovate, and don't stay in existing technologies, and also do not go behind others like the Lemminge. Find your own way.
Somebody said once, like I was still in school when I heard it, like if you just follow the footsteps of someone else, you can't overtake him.
Exactly, yeah.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And all the best for you.
Welcome to the Battery Testing Mentor podcast. My name is Johannes and here I talk about all topics around battery testing, battery validation and battery safety. Short, on the point and with practical advice. Also visit www.batterytestingmentor.com and sign up for the email update where I send out the summaries of the episodes. Yes, and today we will go straight into another interview. This is a very special interview because I was recently in Berlin and visited there kind of live and myself without internet a battery startup. I visited theion, a startup that is working on lithium sulfur chemistry, new battery development. And basically when I was kind of young starting in the battery industry, lithium sulfur was already kind of mentioned as this one thing that one day will come up and will have a huge impact. So I was especially curious to visit them and stop by at their office and lab in Berlin. And today I am very happy to share with you my interview with Dr. Ulrich Ehmes, the CEO of the company. Next week or in 2 weeks, we will have another interview, then more focused about the testing aspect. But today, let's dive into the topic of lithium sulfur battery and the approach by theion.